All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down Ohio State and Oregon. The Ducks travel to Columbus this Saturday to take on the Buckeyes at Buckeye Stadium. This one will be contested at noon, early kickoff on Fox. 14.5 spread in favor of the Buckeyes. The total is set at 63.5. So the first meeting since the 2015 national title when Ezekiel Elliott ran wild as the Buckeyes downed a Marcus Mariota-led Oregon team. OSU 9-0 all-time against the Ducks. So diving right into things, this Oregon offense. Last week they had a tough game with Fresno State. It's no reason to panic, though. Fresno State, a really good ball club. Jake Kaner's an impressive quarterback. Great talent. They have a really good defensive line as well. Fresno State, they're no joke up front. Aaron Mosby, Kelvin Adkins. It's a good unit, So the offensive line for Oregon, it wasn't great last week. They gave up some sacks, gave some tackles for loss in the backfield. So consistency throughout 60 minutes was not there. But I'm not too concerned. They played a good defensive line. They're going to play an elite one this Saturday. Oregon's plenty capable. George Moore, Stephen Jones, though, they will have their hands full at tackle. This is probably the best defensive line in college football. If not, it's second, right behind Clemson. Pick your poison. Either one of them is phenomenal. Anthony Brown, he did a good job at making plays last week. Had a couple good throws. One that really stood out. He stood in the pocket, scanned back across the field to the right side, saw a streaking Johnny Johnson, delivered a near 40-yard touchdown strike. Beautiful play there. The pocket was collapsing on him, and he made that play. He also ran for the game-winning touchdown. This guy's fast. He reminded me of his good speed. Really operates well. Has a nice tandem of backs right behind him. Travis Dye, that is. C.J. Friedel. Good, impressive running backs. Brown is a threat, with his legs. So they have a nice trio of speedsters, guys who can make plays with their legs. It's going to be interesting to see how they get moving vertically. It's going to be a big test for these Ohio State linebackers. Last year that was a bit of a concern for them. Wasn't just their secondary, but the linebackers weren't exceptional in space. So it's going to be a nice little test here because Mohamed Ibrahim, he tore him up last week. A lot of plays after contact, had success on the edge. So that's probably going to be their best bet. That's what you're going to see them look for, is how they can do running vertically. The passing attack, though, the overall passing offense was not very effective, pretty lackluster. 15 of 24, 172 was Brown. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't as effective as we would wished for. That won't fly on Saturday. They have an elite group of wide receivers. These two teams both have great depth and talent at receiving. Johnny Johnson looking to regain that form he had with Justin Herbert, Jalen Redd, Michael Pittman, Troy Franklin, that is, Chris Huston. Very deep. These guys have some good ball players. Devon Williams, another one. So they have playmakers. The speed, I think, is going to shock Ohio State. They're going to look to do everything they can to get them the ball, throwing screens, bubbles out wide. But I think most of all, this downfield passing attack is going to have to be effective. Guys, I think, are going to be open. Not all game long, but there's going to be times where they're open, and Brown's going to have to be able to put it on them, get it to them across the field, and just let your playmakers do work. They're certainly have to be more effective than they were last week. All around, Oregon, a great offense. That biggest question mark, though, is how will Anthony Brown play? He has experience. This is his 4th or 5th year playing football. Last year against Iowa State, he showed great command of the offense. We would like to see that against Ohio State. If he can do what he did in that game, making good plays across the middle, smart decisions with the football, they're going to really test this Ohio State defense. Looking at the Ohio State offense, they ran it pretty effectively when they did 130 yards for 25 carries. That's after the Mayan Williams 71-yarder, so they ran for 200-plus yards last week. But they were not as physical up front as anticipated. Minnesota really controlled the trenches at times. They weren't able to get good runs going, especially early in that first half. C.J. Stroud, he was really rattled. This is going to be another big test for him, but he really didn't have any help from his running backs running the ball other than Mayan Williams with that big run. They couldn't establish a real ground game as much as I expected they would. Stroud, though, back to him. Nerves early, I think those are shaken off. Stepped up in the second half, made some really good throws, got it to his playmakers. Those jitters should be gone, even though this is going to be a top 15 matchup between these two teams. Playing at home, though, should help calm him down. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, they're significantly going to test Oregon vertically. They're going to let great matchups for Nicholas Petit-Frere and Thayer Munford. Kayvon Thibodeau, day-to-day, expect him to play in this game. We'll get to the Oregon defense in a minute. But regardless, though, they've recruited very well on that side of the ball. Very nice left side. It's going to have a great matchup all game long. And that's the way they're going to look to go with the ball. So and Kayvon will be on that side. So phenomenal matchup. Scouts will have their eyes on that. They're going to have their binoculars right there as the focal point. Ohio State, though, very deep at receiver. Jackson Smith and Najiba, Julian Fleming, Mika Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, pick your poison. They're really good. Mayan Williams, he's likely going to get the lead back role. But Travion Henderson, he was one of my favorite true freshmen coming into college football this season. He stepped up with a big 70-plus receiving yard touchdown. He's the real deal in the open field, as Minnesota found out. They're going to look at. He's going to get involved more as the year goes on. This is a game where he could significantly make some plays. He's tough, he's aggressive, so I think they might look to get him a little bit more involved. As every yard could become hard to find on the ground for Ohio State in this game. The Oregon defense, as I mentioned, Kayvon Thibodeau, day-to-day expected to play in this game with that ankle. He left after he left in the Fresno State game early. In the first quarter, though, he forced a strip sack fumble. I'm pretty sure it was a return for a touchdown. We're just going to assume he's good to go. He's going to play in this game. It's going to be a big matchup, though. He's got two of the top linemen in the country on the left side, as we just mentioned, in Petit Frere and Munford. Phenomenal matchup. If he wins that, then Oregon's defense is going to have a big leg up because that guy is a freak off the edge, great length. If they run it, I anticipate them they're going to run that left side because that's their strong suit for Ohio State. But they're also going to want to try and get away from Kayvon, so they're going to try to seal him up. Whether they're running to the edge or the inside, they're going to try to seal him up either way. Phenomenal matchup. Athletic linebacking core, Noah Sewell, Mace Funa, Justin Flo finally made his debut last week. He was all over the field. I love this linebacking core. They're so good. They're so talented. But that's not the only part of this defense that I could rave about. I think they're going to play a lot of press in the secondary. Michael Wright, he's one of the best at doing that. A great press corner. I think they're going to have to be physical with these receivers. Wilson, Olave, two of the nation's best. Try to rough them up. Play rough ball. Play bully ball, if you must say. You just can't let these guys get too much space. Ohio State loves those screens, those bubbles. If you can be physical, get up there in the line of scrimmage. Don't allow them to do what they want to do. And that's have a little bit of space to work with because they will burn you, whether they're catching behind the line of scrimmage or catching 15 yards downfield. Just don't let them have space. Ohio State loves those out routes. I think you're going to have your DBs all over them the entire game and shatter their confidence a little bit. Bully them up there. I think that's your best bet. Jamal Hill, Verone McKinley. These guys are talented in the second. They're no slouch, but I think that's what they're going to have to do. They played a good quarterback last week, and Jake Haener had some good throw. He had a lot of good plays. I think he almost had 300 yards passing. It was pretty much a one-dimensional Fresno State offense. They're playing another good quarterback this week. It's only his second career start, but C.J. Stroud is the real deal. Once he starts to build up some of his experience, you're going to really see his talent shine. But I would really like to see Oregon play a lot of bully ball on the outside. And then Kayvon Thibodeau, hope he plays in this ball game because he's really going to likely determine the result of this game. So hopefully he can get to go. The Ohio State defense, we're still waiting to see the Buckeyes get back to playing elite defense like they did in 2019. A bit of a fall off last year. Some of their issues they're looking promising for correction. The secondary doesn't have a big test. They did well versus Minnesota last week that is, but didn't expect that vertical passing attack to provide much threat either. So take what you want from that small little sample size. Didn't expect them to do much. Not a very good receiving core for Minnesota. In terms of health, Ottman Bell didn't play. Daniel Wright had some good plays. But in terms of health and depth, they're not great. Not the story against Oregon. These guys are as talented as they come and as deep as they come. Ohio State knows that well because they're the same way. So Josh Proctor, though, deep safety, he played very well. That deep role, that cover one role, was not very good last season. So seeing Proctor step up and play well, it's very encouraging. They've grown a little bit. It's going to be another big test to see how much they've really grown, though. This will probably be the biggest threat they have, one of the biggest threats they have all year. So a good opportunity to learn a lot about this Ohio State defense because that deep safety role was a liability a season ago. The linebackers as well. They had 4 guys record 7+ tackles. Cody Simon and Ronnie Hickman really stood out. That's really what you want to see them. Linebackers flying to the ball, making plays. Again, they weren't always in the right position, though. Against Muhammad Ibrahim, as he tore him up, they weren't always in the right gaps, in the right areas. I only watched bits and pieces of this game, so I'm just talking off what I saw because they could have been more consistent. I wasn't able to watch, but again, knowing how last year went and knowing how kind of inexperienced this group was, they're gonna have to be better. Clogging up gaps, being in the right position because this Oregon rushing attack is 2 very versatile guys. They can burn you with speed, elusiveness. very quick in space. So the linebackers, they're going to be very key, trying to seal up that edge. You don't want Oregon spreading the field out on you because it's going to give those receivers some one-on-one opportunities, and those are ones they could possibly win. Still very young at corner for Ohio State. They have a lot of depth, though, but still, I wouldn't want to leave my corners on islands against these Oregon receivers. So they played a big, powerful Minnesota offensive line last year. Figured they would, struggle, not exactly struggle, but I think I figured they would stagger the Minnesota running game because they're leaning on this massive offensive line. Ohio State, top 10 rush defensive season ago, led by Haskell Garrett. I thought they would stagger it a little bit more, neutralize it a little bit better. They weren't able to really do that because they were just getting out muscled in the trenches based on what I saw. It was a real fight, and once Mohamed Ibrahim went out, they were able to get their offense going. Minnesota was, no longer willing to run the ball, no longer able to, and that allowed them to pull away. Oregon, a little concerning after last week in the trenches, so they could have an edge here. Zach Harrison, Tyke Smith, again, Haskell Garrett. Overall, it's a very deep, very talented defensive front, considering how the Ducks' offensive line played last week. As I just mentioned, a little concerning. So, not in panic mode exactly, because they played a good defensive line, but this is an elite one. They're going to have to be outstanding up front. Ohio State will not leave any mercy. I think you can expect them to collapse the pocket frequently in this ball game. Ohio State, they should be able to drop 5 to 6 in the coverage, though. I do have a lot of faith in this front four getting there, getting constant pressure. Because Brown, he was sacked a week ago, so this protection is going to have to really be good. But I'd feel confident in that Ohio State front four getting after Brown, collapsing the pocket. You look at who's got the edge, team comparisons. We got Oregon. I give them a slight edge at quarterback. The only reason I say that is because the experience is overwhelming for Brown compared to Stroud. I picked Stroud to win the Heisman, though. No knock on him whatsoever. Not alarmed by his performance last week. It was kind of impressive, really. After his struggles, he was able to bounce back in the second half. But the experience, I think, that gives Oregon a small edge. But Stroud's the real deal, though, so don't get that twisted. Look at running backs. Pretty even here, but I'm going to give Oregon the edge. C.J. Verdell, Travis Dye, that is. These guys are just really good. They have a nice 1-2 combo there. Nice little punch. Sean Dollars as well. He might see some touches. No real knock on Ohio State. Master Teague, Travion Henderson, Maya Williams. They're both it's pretty even at running back. But I'm going to give the slight edge to Oregon. Pass catchers, again, very even. These are two of the top receiving cores in the nation in terms of talent, depth, playmaking. Ohio State, though, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, these guys are the best duo in college football, so they get the edge there. Both really deep, though. Don't get that twisted either. Offensive line, Ohio State. Look at that off the left side. Munford, Petit Frere. Jones played pretty solid at right tackle last week. This offensive line, it's probably the nation's best. They have a little bit of, I guess you could say, inexperience at center and on that right side. Not concerned, though, whatsoever. The left side is just so good. This offensive line as a whole, though, is my favorite. I think I ranked them second coming into the year, second best U.S. rush. Collectively, Ohio State has the edge, but in terms of who has the best player in college football, Oregon does. But overall, Ohio State, Zach Harrison, Tyreek Smith, that is. This pass rush is nasty. I think they're going to be able to collapse the pocket often. Could be wrong, but I do see that possibly happening. Haskell Garrett is a complete game wrecker in the middle as well. Look at linebacker. Oregon, I think they have I wouldn't call it an overwhelming edge, but I'm just so high on Flo, Sewell, Funa. Those guys are so good, very athletic. They can make plays sideline to sideline with nothing, and with physicality too. No knock on Ohio State's linebacker. They're still growing in that area. They have the talent to get that done. But Oregon right now, I think they're slightly better in that area. Looking at the secondary, Oregon, Michael Wright, as I mentioned, one of the top one of the most physical corners in the nation. Very good in press. Jamal Hill made some good ball plays last year. Verone McKinley, he's a versatile guy. He can do anything. He can come up in the box, step back in the coverage, and make plays. Really like Oregon's secondary. Ohio State still growing in that area. Very, very promising stuff, though. Proctor, as I mentioned, was an exceptional playmaker a week ago. Ryan Watts, a guy I'm really high on. Sedman Banks as well. So they have the talent there, but they're still working in that area. It's one of the worst pass defenses in football season to go, so it's not going to be instantly overnight. Final thoughts and prediction on this game. What Oregon needs to do to win. Anthony Brown needs to be exceptional, not just on third downs, but all together. When he's throwing the football, he needs to be efficient, needs to have great timing, needs to be effective. He's got the receivers to do it, and I think they're going to have opportunities to get those playmakers to be open. Like I said, there's going to be times where they're open. He needs to put it on them. Anthony Brown's very big in this game going on the road. This game could make or break his season. If he plays poor, then it could be the end of the Brown era in Oregon. And Ty Thompson, it was a very close QB competition. A very talented young man. He could step in at any moment. So Brown, he's got to do this. He's probably fighting for his job and for maybe Oregon's playoff hopes in this one. So he needs to be exceptional. What do the Buckeyes need to do? Get Stroud going early and often. Last week, the play calling, as expected, I figured they'd do things to get him going. But the running game didn't really help him out. Other than that Maya Williams run, they weren't running it great. So they weren't able to kind of call the offense the way they wanted, at least early from what I saw. So get him going early and often with those screens, with some of those out routes to create separation. I think Oregon's going to be playing bully ball, though, outside of it. So that might not be the best way to play call, but I think they need to get him going early and often with whatever way they can. And then collapse the pocket defensively, make it hard on Brown. Because I said I think this defensive line could have a big monster day considering how Oregon played up front last week. Plenty capable, though, of not allowing that to happen, but collapse the pocket. Brown, he's good, though. He can beat you with his legs outside. Still, though, give your players an opportunity to make some give your rushers a chance to make some plays. I think they'll get that done. So, overall prediction, I'm going to take Ohio State 42, Oregon 28. I think this could be a really good ball game, a very close one. Still some question marks, though, about just a small smidge of question marks for the Oregon offense. They're incredibly talented, but I don't think they have a great matchup in the trenches. And Anthony Brown, still a little questionable. We've yet to see if he can go on the road and knock off a team like Ohio State. They're plenty capable, though, with the weapons they have. He could certainly go off and have a big game, kind of like Jack Cohen just did against Florida State, where he pretty much carried the whole offense. I think you could possibly see something like that from Brown on Saturday. But I think we'll see nice, close 3 quarters of action. I think going to the fourth, Ohio State's going to separate just a little bit, and that's going to allow them to win this one 42-28. Leave your guys' comments below. Like, subscribe. Tell me who you guys think is going to win. See you next time.